This one's wife. Yes, we see you are a fraud. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. I highlighted in a video yesterday, fraud, that a recent photograph that this one's wife placed on her Instagram, once again using social media for the purposes of assertion of control and drawing fuel, contained 3 instances of fraudulent activity on her behalf. It related to, first of all, the instance of skin colour, but also with regard to her barefootedness, and also the fact that she wanted to convey the image that she had grown and harvested spring onions herself, when in actual fact it was quite clear that they were far too clean to have been extracted from the earth, and they must have been shop-bought for the purposes of a posed photograph. I also explained why this one's wife is a fraud with regard to the fact that her narcissism causes her to take aspects of other people and pass it off as being her, and the facade that she generates. Remember, she does all of this subconsciously. She doesn't think that she is taking aspects of other people. Where she does so, for instance, taking somebody else's idea, her narcissism just simply tells her that it was her idea. It doesn't cause her to think, I shouldn't be doing this, should I? Because she has that absolute sense of entitlement, she will just take somebody else's idea, and we've seen her do this time and time again, and pass it off as her own without batting an eyelid, because her narcissism tells her that she was the one that thought about it. She's a fraud with regard to the way that she acts towards people because she's never genuine. She repeatedly tells us about her authenticity, but she's completely removed from that. And this fraud behaviour that I highlighted yesterday has been identified in the media. The Irish Star, amongst other publications, declares this one's wife branded a fraud for latest as ever post, as she's called out by fans. Hannah Fennell writes, media personality, interesting, no reference to royalty there, this one's wife, has attracted criticism following her most recent post on As Ever, in which she appears to be toting store-bought spring onions. The photo shows the Duchess of Sussex, who faced recent allegations of fabrication over a St. Patrick's Day waffle-making story with her kids, donning a wide-brim hat and ambling through a garden with a watering can and several spring onions in hand. Captioned, Daily Rituals, individuals on X have accused the ex-royal of dishonesty. Critics are convinced that instead of harvesting the onions from her garden as implied, this one's wife actually purchased them, pointing to the noticeable lack of dirt on her hands, feet, or the produce itself. A user on X condemned, this one's wife is a fraud. Here is the delusional Duchess walking around her garden with store-bought onions, pretending to have grown them, not a speck of dirt on them. Another commenter chimed in, the daily dose of fakeness from this one's wife is too much. Fake cooking, bought waffles, now clean, freshly picked spring onions from her garden, whilst keeping her hands and bare feet clean. And yet another commented, this one's wife continues to bombard fans with new pictures in bizarre barefoot snap. The spring onions are shop clean, have no roots, she has no tools, and an indoor watering can. If she was watering her garden, it would take a long time with that. One individual humorously commented, daily rituals by this one's wife. Get staff to drive to shop and pick up some fresh veggies, then get staff to take photos of this one's wife walking round garden with said veggies. Having grown spring onions myself, hers are awfully clean and neat considering she's just picked them. However, a few online supporters came to her defence. One supporter stated, I believe this one's wife has an outdoor water faucet near her garden. I saw in one of her IG posts her running water to fill a jar to put flowers from her garden in, so she may have rinsed off the onions. bollocks. Another fan hit back at the critics. I just read someone say that the spring onions this one's wife is holding in her newest #AsEver post are too clean to have just been picked. 1. Do y'all... Sugar alert. Do y'all not know how branding and marketing works? Why would she post dirty spring onions on her brand page? 2. It's not that deep. This one's wife has faced a barrage of criticism and has been labelled as fake since she started posting on her AsEver account. Just a few days ago, this one's wife was accused of lying about making waffles with her children at home on St. Patrick's Day. The Duchess offered a peek into her family life on Instagram, sharing images of herself preparing vibrant green treats and beverages for her children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, in honour of the Irish holiday. It then goes on to talk about what she did. With some saw the display as light-hearted amusement, criticism wasn't far behind for this one's wife. Accusations flew from certain quarters, claiming she treated her children to the worst waffles. Every single day, this one's wife proves herself to be a terrible mother, declared one detractor on X. They asserted disdainfully, this one's wife will plate gourmet homemade waffles for herself while her paycheck gets some chemical-filled crap waffle. I guess the kids aren't good enough, they summed up their view. The wave of disapproval cascaded amongst other users on X, with allegations that this one's wife even fibbed about personally preparing the breakfast treats. There was skepticism expressed on X. I immediately saw the difference when I saw the video. I couldn't grasp the reason to lie about waffles. What kind of person needs to do that? This one's wife is a walking scam. Another person wrote, this one's wife's relentless compulsion to lie about everything is baffling, even over something as trivial as a waffle. Well, you all know it's not baffling, because everything she does is performative, driven by her narcissism, which declares it's okay to do this, because you're allowed to do this for the purposes of asserting control and drawing fuel. You're okay in doing this because you're never to blame. You're okay in doing this because you have no accountability. But what I pointed out, and what many other people have seen, has been amplified by the media. And this all comes back to a very important point, which will please many of you. I know that there are many of you who do not like this one's wife for a variety of reasons, and your dislike is legitimate. Furthermore, many of you want to see her fail. As I've made clear, you're not going to get the sudden explosion of exposure, because the mainstream media won't do this. They won't slaughter the cash cow. Instead, what you'll see is her losing supporters as more and more people realise she is talentless, free of charisma, useless, a liar, a faker, and a scam artist. There will always be those that will support her for reasons that I have explained elsewhere. But because the guardrails have been removed and Instagram proves so tempting, she cannot help herself, because she is essentially basic, but keep going to Instagram, both in her personal Instagram and AsEver, which has started to gain more traction. She's posting there more often because she gains a reaction, and her narcissism wants that. So she'll do it all the more. Because there'll be people that like it and she gets a quick fix. It's like a drug addict who's found a stash of drugs at home rather than having to go and find them down in the city somewhere. And therefore, because there is a stash on her doorstep, she'll keep using it. She will keep using Instagram. And because there's not even anybody who's going to be able to provide some useful input with regard to what she places on there, her fakery will be revealed again and again and again and again. She can't help but keep trying to show that she has this idyllic life, and she will just, because she basically is focusing on the here and the now and is useless, keep exposing herself. As I've told you so many times before, give the narcissist enough rope, and as we can see here, two recent instances with the waffles and with the spring onions, not only are they picked up on social media, but then it's easy journalism, in inverted commas, for mainstream media to pick up these criticisms that are being bandied around and amplify them, so more and more people get to see it. For a long time, certain individuals have described her as a fraud, but not everybody necessarily accepted it. Now, by virtue of her own behaviour and her own behaviour in showing off her own behaviour, what you're getting is her fakery being demonstrated on a repeated basis so that people can say, yes, we see you're a fraud. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.